Today in the Dad Bod workshop we have our Ducati 1999 900 SSIE. Stefania. Stefania's not going at the moment, so that's what we're here to do. We're going to do some dead Ducati Dad Bod diagnosis to find out why it's not going to work. Okay, the problem we have is that the bike won't start. The starter motor won't even engage. So the problem I have, I'll show you. Now listen carefully, I'll turn the ignition on. You can hear the fuel pump going. Hit the starter button. Nothing happens, not even a click. So that's the problem we have. We have full electrics though, like we've got headlight, we've got indicators, stop light, headlights, all that stuff. So we've got full electrics except for a starter motor. So our diagnosis has to go from the battery through the starter relay, ignition relay, the handle to make sure the switch and the cutout are working properly, and then we'll go down through and down to the starter motor through the wiring circuit. What have we done so far? Battery goes in here, 12 volt battery, we've checked that. We know that the battery was getting a bit low, so we put a new battery in. We have 12.8 volts, which is what we're supposed to have. If you have an old battery, just make sure though that you've got cold cranking, because even if you've got 12.8 volts, it doesn't mean that it's actually going to crank. I know that ours was getting very low and the cranking was below what was necessary to start the bike. Next we check the relay. The relays are up in here, front of the bike, left hand side. The relay looks like this. When I pull the relay out, as you can see, one of the pins came out as corroded. If you've got a really good relay and you want to check it, you've got two things you need to do. These side pins here, pins 86 and 85, you need to run 12 volts through that and listen for a click. If you hear a click, then you know the relay's good. And then you've got to run pins 30 and 87, the missing one here, and get continuity. So you use ohms on your multimeter and you should be able to hear a buzz when these two are connected. If you hear both those things, your relay's in good condition. So now we'll work our way down from the handlebar through the wiring system and down to the starter motor. We'll also check from the battery straight to the starter motor. First thing, switches are working properly. So what you need to do is trace the wire down from this part of the handlebar. We trace that down through here and up, and we come up to this connector here. So we need to separate that connector like that. And it's got 4 pins, and if you look on the base here, you've got pin 1, 2, 3, 4. So from the left to the right is 1, 2, 3, 4. You get your multimeter, turn it to ohms so you can hear it. So down here, it goes beep. So what we're doing is testing connectivity to make sure that there's no broken wires from here right down through to the plug. Just tap to make sure it's working properly. Now the first test is you take this plug here, negative goes in point 1, positive into plug 2. And we should hear a buzz. Okay, so we know that the plug 1 and 2 in here, which runs the cutout up here, is working correctly. So you've got to have this plug up here on run rather than cut out. Now the next one you need 3 hands, but I've only got 2. Plugs 3 and 4. So you've got your handlebar on run, and then in a minute I'll say push the starter, and what you should hear, see we have nothing at the moment, push the starter, we get connectivity. We know the starter button and the cutout button are both working down through the plug, so we know that that handlebar is fine. Okay, other initial checks we did before you start pulling all the bodywork off, just in case it's something simple, is you check the fuses. Around the left-hand side of the bike, under the fairing, you'll see up here are all the fuses for the different components. You just click here to take the cover off. Initially just push them all in to see whether one's loose. If that doesn't work, pull them separately and just find out if they're still intact. So I've done that, all the fuses are working. There's also one major fuse which does all the electrics for the bike. It's a 40 amp fuse and it's down on near the battery. So you've got your battery here near the positive terminal, you've got the 40 amp fuse. Just squeeze it in and pull it out, and there's 40 amps. Now if that's gone, none of the electrics on the bike will work. As you can see, that's all intact. The next test is the starter relay or starter solenoid. It's on the right hand side of the bike, just under the battery, on the side of the frame. There's the battery, and there's a solenoid just there. It's got two connections to it and a power connection. That's the power connection, slips into the two little plug there. Connection 1 goes directly from the battery to the left hand side of the solenoid. Connection 2, this one here, goes from the right hand side of the solenoid and then down to the starter motor, which is just in under here. So to test that, we need to take it off the bike. I've already undone it, and we'll just pulls out. There's a rubber mount just here, and it just pulls out like that. And that's what it looks like. To test to see if the solenoid is working correctly, you'll need a multimeter set at ohms, that one there, and a 12-volt battery. You need to power up the solenoid, those two pins here. It's not polarity sensitive, so you just have to connect your positive and negative side of the battery to those two pins to give it power. When you give it power, you should hear an audible click, and it'll move on the bench like this. If that doesn't happen, then the solenoid is bad. The other thing you need to do is put your multimeter on ohms and put your two pins, one each side, here and here. Again, not polarity sensitive, and you should get a reading. If the reading is above 0, then it is working. Generally it's about 4 is the resistance you'll get out of a good working solenoid. If you have an open line when it's powered up, you'll see OL up here. That means that it's an open line and there's no resistance going through, which means that the wire in the solenoid is bad. I've tested this one. There's no audible click, and when it's powered up, I have open line. So this solenoid is bad, it needs to be replaced. So I've found my problem with why the bike won't start.